Hey guys, LevelCap here, and today in gaming, the RTX 3090 performance claims may have been a little bit misleading. Left 4 Dead 2 got its first new DLC in 8 years, Among Us 2 was cancelled, and more. Nvidia made a big point about the RTX 3090 being an 8K gaming GPU when they first revealed it a few weeks ago. Leading up to today's launch, they doubled down on those claims, sending review units and strict guidelines to Linus Tech Tips and MKBHD for pre-launch content. To their credit, using the settings and games recommended by Nvidia, both reviewers got 60 FPS at 8K. However, now that the card is available for purchase and the review embargo is up, the real-world gaming performance is a little bit less impressive, at least when compared with the 3080. There's no question about it, the 3090 is currently the fastest gaming GPU that money can buy, but it's clear that Nvidia really wanted to focus their marketing on 8K gaming because that's where you would see the biggest performance difference. The only problem with this type of marketing is that, in reality, nobody's gaming at 8K. It's like marketing a car saying it has double the traction of its predecessor when driven on the moon. It's a statistic that basically nobody's going to be able to take advantage of. Now that all the benchmarks are out, when the 3090 is run at more realistic resolutions, it appears that you're only seeing a 10 to 15% performance boost over the 3080 for most gaming applications. Now, for anyone who's familiar with the gaming industry and GPU pricing and general hardware pricing, a 10 to 15% performance boost for double the cost is actually pretty typical. That being said, customers are saying that they feel misled by the marketing. In fact, it does appear that the 3090 really is geared much more like a workstation card for somebody doing high-end video editing or 3D rendering applications. Now, whether it was the misleading marketing or just the sheer demand for an extra 10 to 15% in gaming performance, it seems to work because getting a 3090 today is pretty much impossible. They sold out instantly the moment ordering went live. Nvidia were very upfront and apologized for the limited quantities available. Expect limited availability for the next few weeks, if not longer. Left 4 Dead 2's first major DLC in over 8 years has finally arrived. The Last Stand is a community-made addition to the classic co-op zombie survival game and includes a ton of content. It offers more than 20 survival arenas, 4 new scavenge arenas, a full campaign based on the Lighthouse survival map, plus new achievements, weapons, and more. The DLC was made in partnership with Valve, and it's an officially published DLC, so no hunting it down on the Steam Workshop. Despite its age, Left 4 Dead 2 has remained one of the most popular games on Steam, averaging at least 10,000 players a day. The multiplayer imposter sim Among Us recently blew up overnight thanks to exposure from various streamers and YouTubers. The sudden burst in popularity has prompted the developers to abandon plans for a direct sequel. Originally, they planned to make Among Us 2, as the original game's code is apparently a nightmare to work with. Their new plan is to update the original game with content intended for the sequel. This means they'll be putting in extra work to refine the game's back end, but for players, it means new content, features, and more without having to shell out for a sequel. It sounds like a smart move to preserve the game's momentum while also fleshing it out for longtime players. New features include better servers, colorblind support, a friend system, and a new stage. No release date was given for these new features though. Microsoft officially revealed pricing for the Xbox Series X and S 1TB storage expansion drives. They'll be $220, and they are the only storage solutions that offer the same speeds and performance as the console's internal storage. Xbox users have been able to run games via USB drives on both the Xbox 360 and the Xbox One, but Microsoft made it clear that that won't be an option on their next-gen hardware. And while the Xbox Series X offers 1 terabyte of internal storage, the Series S only has 512 gigabytes. Really, that will only let you install a handful of modern games. Spending an extra $220 on storage instead of, say, just buying a Series X for the same total cost might be a hard sell for some gamers. That said, the expansion drive is just a PCIe Gen 4 SSD, and the prices for those will fall over time as they replace Gen 3 drives. So I wouldn't expect that $220 price tag to be relevant for all that long. The real question is if third-party adapters will let players use high-performance Gen 3 SSDs with the consoles. If the only drawback is slightly slower load times, I think it's a compromise many players will be willing to make in exchange for just being able to install an extra Call of Duty game. Microsoft have also announced the first world update for Flight Sim 2020. It's due out on the 29th and will update Japan with a significant visual overhaul. Tokyo, Fuji Mountain, and more will all receive proper photogrammetry assets. There will also be new airports, improved terrain, new landing challenges, and more. The game's developers, Asobo, have said that they plan to launch content updates like this every quarter, so we can expect the next major world update in 3 months. Mafia Definitive Edition is a total remake of the original game, and reviewers are praising it as an impressive upgrade to the otherwise dated original. As for the gameplay, it sounds like the remake is still rooted in 2002. While it's not necessarily a bad thing, it might make the game feel a little bit old, especially compared to its relatively modern visuals. Regardless though, it's a tremendous improvement from the Mafia 2 remaster, which was mostly a glorified resolution bump and DLC bundle for the original release. Serious Sam 4 has launched to somewhat mixed reviews. In terms of delivering on the franchise's promise of shooting lots of dumb enemies with big guns, it hits a respectable line drive. But beyond that, bugs and a general lack of polish hinder the experience. Many reviewers have noted broken textures, AI that gets stuck against world geometry, floating enemies, broken third-person animations in co-op mode, and more. But the bigger issue seems to be the lack of the massive battles the developers talked so much about leading up to the release. Serious Sam 4 features horde technology and lets the game render thousands of enemies at once. The problem is they're mostly cardboard cutouts of a handful of enemies, and you'll really only get to fight that many enemies at the beginning and end of the game. All that said, it's still a Serious Sam game. Expecting it to be an expertly crafted experience is a little bit off the mark. In our final story today, the crowd-funded Doomlike Proteus is now available in closed beta on Steam. Kickstarter backers and people lucky enough to get invited can dive into the beta for free. The game itself looks pretty incredible, not just visually, but also its gameplay. I'm especially excited to see what the full version is like. And that wraps it up for today in gaming. Let me know in the comments down below what you thought was the most interesting story. Leave a like if you enjoyed the video. Don't forget to subscribe if you want to see all our future content. And I'll see you guys next time. This is LevelCap signing off.